The following program contains names, places, and events that have been anonymized or fictionalized for the purposes of protection and safety. The following program is provided for entertainment purposes only, and any commentary from the hosts are strictly conjecture and should not be held as making any definitive statements about the truth or identity of any particular individuals or circumstances. If you or a loved one are involved in an abusive relationship, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for support.
Hi, good morning. Happy Monday.
It's time for part 2. I know you've been waiting. Thank you for your patience. We'll get into it quick.
I know that you guys are I know you just want to get into it. So just for recap, we left off where this guy has brought up polygamy on just a casual lunch date, right?
He's like, the Bible actually has some interesting points. And it's like, I think you're getting a little creative with your interpretation there.
Yeah, exactly. And then she leaves and has to go get the kids from school. So that's kind of where we left off. So we're going to pick up from there. But first, listen to the Patreon this week. We are going to have our first guest episode on the Patreon.
Yay. And it's great. We want to bring more and more stories like that on Patreon. So thank you to everybody who supports there. And it's $5 a month. So go listen.
Yeah, come listen on the Patreon. Join the Patreon. You get 2 bonus episodes a month. And we're really enjoying the Patreon a lot. And we do the lives and everything. You guys can connect with us. So
last live, we had awesome people come on so we could help with some dating app makeovers. One of them was my mom.
You guys, Hannah is so good at that stuff. Like, it is so
you
fun
are too.
No, I have so much fun watching you with all like the dating profiles and just the things that you catch and, that are like, oh, we should totally change this. And it was so much fun. You guys have to come watch Hannah in action. It was really fun.
As many people can relate to, I have been in the trenches and we pick up a thing or two.
Right? So yeah, sign up for the Patreon. And as always, please keep sharing on your social media because this sense of community has been so important and so valuable to so many of our guests. So keep sharing. And I say, let's just get into it. Get into part 2.
Back to Claire.
Let's do it.
Like, we have to go get the kids. And so we go and I literally just slap on a smile, tell myself to stop shaking, right? And go and get the babies. Then we go and pick up the kids. And I'm like trying not to cry, talking to all the friends and stuff. And they're all like, how is sushi? And I'm like, great.
Oh my gosh.
And so we pick up the kids and the boys were in the back of the car and they were like kind of having a tuffle. And he just throws the car into park and slams out the door, pulls our oldest daughter out of the car. She's crying. Our littlest is crying. And he dives into the back and he grabs my youngest by the neck.
What?
Yes. And was like, this is your brother. Don't fight with your brother. Like on his high horse of integrity for his lesson, but physically holding him. And all of us are like crying. And then he just leaves. He just leaves. And then I get the kids inside. I settle them down. And the next day, he just pretends like nothing happened. He's like, I didn't grab him by the neck. I grabbed him by his cheeks. I'm like, really? The issue that was happening is like when he hits these, what I started noticing is like his eyes go dark and they start twitching.
Oh my God.
And he goes into like kind of like these, spirals. And then
it's like a trance.
Almost. And then he doesn't remember it after. Or he creates a different narrative in his brain. I'm like, this is something I've learned to handle things in the past. This is a whole new ballgame. This is a path I don't know what to do about. So then she flies back in and I'm upset with him over everything. And he goes, let's go on a date. Let's have Rebecca.
We're going to go on a date to the damn funeral home. You don't change your ways, fella.
No kidding. I know. I feel so stupid. I completely feel so stupid.
Oh,
that's how so many people feel. They feel stupid. And it's not fair. It's not fair.
Stupid, trapped, like the whole gamut, and so this is what's like crazy is he goes, we need a date. We just need us, and so He goes, we trust her, so let's have her watch the kids while we go.
Oh,
Okay. So he books a hotel and we go, and, things are a little different, if you know what I mean. Like, there were new, maybe, things that he wanted to do or try that in 14 years never came about.
Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Okay.
And I'm getting text messages from her, like, showing she's baking with the kids and they're playing Legos and they're doing, all the things. I'm like,
Oh
oh, this
my
is so
God.
wonderful. They're so loved because I don't ever leave them. And so we go on this date and everything seems fine. He doesn't bring up the compound,
The divorce papers.
Nope. All of that's gone. That's in the past. He's thinking of counseling. He's just been stressed with work, all of this.
Are you feeling like getting glimmers of who you married?
Teeny, 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 tiny ones, but my body is telling me no.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very forced. It felt very unnatural. But again, trying to salvage, trying to figure out, how do I hold this together? How do I, So we were on our date. She's sending us messages of like, the kids are doing great. Auntie Rebecca's having so much fun. And so we're on our date, like, out of town. And then we come back because his brother's flying into town. And we get there. We get home in time so that she can go out on her date. Okay, so she's watching our kids so that we can go away. And then she leaves when we get home to go on her date and gets home the next night. I could tell that she is intoxicated. And my brother-in-law and my husband, they're drinking. They were playing cards. And the couple days prior, she kept asking me questions about my brother-in-law. Is he happily married? Does he look like
Are
your
you
husband?
serious?
Yep.
Rude.
And
Ew.
I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, she's just curious. I don't know. Yeah, he's happily married. They've got 2 kids. He tries to come out twice a year. And she just kept asking more details about what does he do, all this stuff. So anyhow, she joins in the card game and is so explicitly inappropriate with my brother-in-law. And my husband is getting visibly angry. Now, I'm thinking maybe he's ticked because she's being inappropriate with his brother, who is married. But then we will find out why he was actually angry.
I have some guesses.
Oh
my gosh. So she's like batting the eyelashes and brushing his hair back and doing all
arm,
that.
Hand on the arm, hand on the leg.
My God.
Like turning every comment into some type of sexual innuendo.
Oh my God.
And I mean, I'm not
so inappropriate,
but I've been married for 14 years and I don't know. I just
so inappropriate and also a representation
subscribe.
of you. Like she's your best friend that you have staying. And now this family member is like, what is this?
Right.
Yeah.
I was mortified. And he didn't do anything inappropriate, but he also didn't stop it, which irritated me a little bit. And so they ended up staying up drinking a lot longer. I went and put the kids to bed. And then the next day, they took her back to the airport. She's flying back to Arizona. So anyhow, all of that happens with my brother-in-law. They take her to the airport. Then my brother-in-law leaves like the next day. My husband's back to working a lot. Things were definitely rocky. Then Christmas rolled around. And so she's gone at this point. She's back in Arizona. And he's like up and down, up and down, up and down. And I think it's also important to say that when you are in a traumatic situation, every day is a new day and your brain can kind of black out stuff that happened even 24 hours because you're just in survival mode.
Yeah, it's self-defense.
And so I'm sitting here, and so I'm like, all of this chaos happened in the last couple of weeks. And then here we are, she's gone. It's just us. It's up and down with him. And then we're leading into Christmas. And I'm so focused on just making it super special with the kids because we didn't have any family or anything around this year. And so you kind of like shove all of this CRAP under the rug until the next thing comes up. But you're just kind of shoving it away. And so we get through Christmas. He's already kind of in agreement to like get some counseling.
That's a good start.
It's a good start. I felt like I was like, okay, like we can, I feel in my mind, I was like, if you can get counseling, if we can get counseling and like things with the company are going well, then you won't be so stressed and maybe you won't have these reactions. Again, justifying behavior that we should not justify.
He also, during this period, started becoming like a doomsday prepper.
And so in that, he had this plan that he shared with me and other people that if we got nuked or the, you know, the grid went down or et cetera, then the house that we have is on a point. And he's like, we just lock this point down. I'll take that neighbor out, and everybody else will fall in line with my military training in this doomsday situation. And I'm sitting here like, that's not normal.
It's like him being both paranoid and also wanting all this power.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I just, again, chalked it up to his military training. And he's like, I will just always protect you and the children. And this is what I'll have to do. And some of it's going to be hard and whatnot. Well, I've learned since then that is not normal thinking. And I don't just live in a bubble. He's just in a different reality. Because that's what he would say to me. Oh, you just don't know how the real world works.
This is not the first time, by the way, that we've had someone come on and Prepper used that to manipulate
and isolate.
Isolate. Yes.
In that factor. So we have this house on the lake, but our community is about an hour away, like our friends and whatnot. And he was trying to get us to stop going into town for fear of like any of this stuff happening while I was there with the kids and he wasn't there to protect us.
So this was like a constant. This wasn't just like, I've got stuff in the basement in case we need it. This was constantly being afraid that something was going to happen.
Yes.
To the point of you not being able to go places.
Yes. And I would say we need to move closer to town. Like, let's keep the lake house. We can have it as a rental or whatever. You want to keep it as a go-to place. But we need to get closer to town because the kids need, like, they have all their little besties are here and they want to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm not going to drive up and down all the time. And so he would pretend to be on board with that and looking at new houses and whatever. And then conveniently, something would happen in the world, whether it be Ukraine or Russia or whatever. And he would sit me down and make me watch these like prepper videos of how close we are to World War III and be like, do you really want to be closer to town where people can like raid your house? Or do you want to be up here where I can take care of you? And so he's playing on my mama bear mode.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, I will stay up here isolated AF, and to protect my kids because you tell me that this is what's going to happen.
Quick break because I want to talk about StoryWorth. I think stories are some of the most powerful tools that we have in terms of connection and influence. And there are some stories from my papa, my mom's dad, that I truly never get tired of hearing. They are hilarious. They're also inspiring. I'm not even going to get into it just yet. Before I get to the stories, this is just in time for Father's Day. And I think StoryWorth is the perfect gift that captures all of his stories for my family. So it helps you preserve precious memories and stories from your dad, your dad's dad, any father figure in your life or anyone. And you have them for years to come. So how it works is every week, StoryWorth emails your loved one a thought-provoking question that you get to help pick. There's tons of questions. I recently asked, how did you get engaged to my bubby? And my papa got to share some beautiful stories from back then. And my mom and my dad and my brother were all like so excited every time we get an email back. And it's really easy for him. He's 93 and he does know how to respond to emails. So it makes it so easy. You'll be emailed a copy of your loved one's response to whatever questions you pick. And then they're submitted over the course of a year. And then StoryWorth compiles your loved one's stories and photos, if you want, into a keepsake hardcover book that you can share and revisit for generations to come. And you can even keep a copy of the book for yourself. So I'm so excited that we have that. And I know so many of you have stories. We've heard many of them. We've heard some of the bad ones. Let's use StoryWorth to capture the beautiful ones, because StoryWorth's great. And that's why it has more than 25,000 5-star reviews on Trustpilot. it's perfect for Father's Day. So give all the fathers in your life a unique, heartfelt gift you'll all cherish for years. Storyworth. Right now, save $10 on your first purchase when you go to storyworth.com/detectives. That's storyworth.com/detectives to save $10 on your first purchase. All of that will be in the show notes.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The year has gone by so quickly. We're already into June, and there's a lot to be proud of, but there's still a lot to accomplish this year. So my overthinking brain is constantly thinking ahead and thinking about what I still have to do. But sometimes I also forget to think about my wins and the things that I've accomplished so far. And with BetterHelp, it kind of helps me to make adjustments for the rest of the year and to improve those goals based on what I've already done. So it'll help me to navigate my overthinking brain to a single path and kind of focus a little more easily. So therapy can help you take stock of your progress so far and set achievable goals for, let's say, the next 6 months for the rest of the year. So that's what I'm working on. And I feel like therapy is a really great opportunity for anybody who not only is experiencing something negative, but if you just want to talk about something that's bothering you, therapy is really helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. See what you think. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You basically just fill out a brief questionnaire and you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can change your therapist at any time. And they don't charge you for that or anything. So you can rest assured that you have a therapist that matches what your needs are. So take a moment, visit betterhelp.com/TDD today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/TDD.
So then we get into now he's studying the Old Testament, and he thinks that he is similar to King David.
Oh, for the love of the land.
And that all of his faults and flaws and sins and everything are fine because, David was also like that. And now he's a king.
It sounds like this is not like at all the man you married. It sounds like this is escalated.
No,
yeah, you didn't.
Yeah, this guy is he's on one. This guy is on the mushrooms and the chocolate.
Professional golfer. Yeah, tuxedo. Not at all what I married. Not at all. But, people change and you love them through it. But when we moved to the Catskills, he changed so drastically. Yes, he had PTSD prior to that and some
But zombies were never a big part of the conversation.
No,
that
he definitely didn't mention that when he proposed.
Oh my goodness.
It was like, let's get her locked and loaded, completely isolated and financially dependent and, let her be mama bear. And I'm just going to throw all these potentials out there to keep her exactly where I want to keep her and the kids by default, because now they're older and they see it, and he didn't like that. Anyhow, then we have Christmas and he's throwing a fit about everything. We make Christmas dinner. He comes in, makes himself a snack, leaves the mess, and pieces out. And I'm like, oh, Christmas dinner's ready, for us to all have as a family. I'm not hungry. And goes into his room and plays video games. And so the kids are crying. I'm upset. It was just so blatantly disrespectful, and he couldn't care less. And so anyhow, the kids are crying. And then that night again, he goes, I can't see our kids cry anymore over this. I think we're over. You can't see your kids cry from the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
So we are over. Okay.
Is this the time he gave you the divorce papers and then ripped them up? Or is this a different?
That's what I'm saying.
Just wondering.
Just wondering. Yeah. How serious is this? Are we going on a date again tomorrow?
Show up with flowers.
Rebecca, watch the children.
Oh.
Which part of the roller coaster are we on here? Just so I can prepare myself, And again, focus is 100% on the kids. And so I'm like, whatever, And then, yes, literally the next day he was back to normal and everything was fine. But that night, I found out it was 2:00 in the morning. He messaged my parents saying that we were getting a divorce because he couldn't handle seeing our kids cry anymore.
In the middle
What
of
the
what?
heck?
So he
And
was
that
drinking.
line, that stupid line that he's going to make
Yes.
it's so like thinly veiled. Like, I'm not telling you why they're crying.
He wants to look like the victim. He's getting ahead of it. That's why he's doing it first.
Classic Darvo.
100%.
100%. So he deleted the messages, but my parents kept them. And you
So
could
that you
tell,
wouldn't
like,
see them?
he deleted them, so I didn't see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could tell it made no sense. Like, his articulation wasn't there. It was all over the map. So I'm assuming he was on something. And he kept saying, you just need to support her and the children. He's saying this to my parents. You need to support her and the children. I am bad.
What?
I am bad.
Can I just stop real quick? I want to,
Yeah.
you said Darvo, and that's something that I'm familiar with, but I wanted to share with the audience what Darvo is. So Darvo is deny, attack, reverse victim and offender roles. So you're taking the role and reversing it to kind of make yourself look like the victim as opposed to holding like all the accountability. So it's kind of like deflecting. And so that's what Darvo is. And that is a classic example of Darvo.
And we are just hitting the tip of the iceberg.
Oh my God. Oh my Landa, no.
And so then he deletes it and pretends again nothing happens. And she flies back for New Year's.
Wait, deletes what?
It deletes the messages to my parents.
Like unsends them or deletes them so you couldn't see them?
Deletes them so that I can't see them.
Yeah, but does he think your parents are going to talk to you?
I know, right? Like who the
I think you're right. He was on something. And who knows what, honestly.
So then let's see here. She flies in for New Year's. I'm supposed to pick her up. I go and get my hair done. And he's at home with the children. And I'm driving. And he goes, he didn't want me to go and pick her up at the airport because the road is a little windy and he didn't want me to get into a car accident. Okay. So he's going to go pick her up. And so I'm driving to my hair appointment, and lo and behold, there's like this crazy driver that literally gets almost 3 of us in a massive car accident, and I'm panicking. And so I'm calling him, and I'm calling him, and I'm calling him, and he doesn't freaking answer. And I'm like, you're at home with the kids. Like, what are you doing?
What could you possibly be doing?
He calls me back, and he's driving with the kids, and I'm telling him, what happens. And he's like, oh, your hair looks beautiful, this, that, what. I was like, hey, I tried calling you a bunch of times. And I was outside with the kids. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. Because one of the kids in the back says, no, you weren't.
That's why it doesn't sound right.
The kid said, that doesn't track. That does not track.
What? And so when we got home that night, or I got home and that they got home, and he was outside with the kids at that moment. And so I checked his phone, and he had a call with Rebecca that lasted 45 minutes while she was in Arizona.
What?
And so I looked at the history, and I didn't see any call history. So I was like, okay, this is just a one-off situation. But then I realized, oh, that's weird because they have been talking business, right? So why are there no previous calls?
Yeah.
And not only that, but the number in his phone wasn't Rebecca, it was R. Like a little short.
Yeah.
Little short
Almost
form,
like he doesn't
little,
want people to know who he's talking to.
Maybe. Or like a cute short form instead of the full name.
Oh.
I don't know. Either way, it kind of goaded me a little bit. And so I said, hey, like when I was trying to call you, you said you were outside with the kids, but your phone says that you're on with Rebecca. He goes, I didn't talk to her today.
Oh,
Your
he
phone
should have
says-
just said, what a dumb. He should have, he's a dumb.
No kidding. And he goes, I didn't talk to you.
He could have just been like, yeah, we talked. What's up?
There's a butt dial.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he could have said it was business.
And then he goes to go pick her up that night with one of her children, the oldest. And they are out of communication for a solid 4 hours.
Wait, what? With the children?
4 hours. And her son said that he fell asleep in the back of the car. Okay. So what happened between A and B? I don't know. And then they get in, and I was like, hey, when I said that he was coming to get you at the airport, you kind of pretended like you didn't know, but you had a conversation with him earlier that morning. And she goes, no, I didn't.
What?
Okay, here we go.
Do
I
they
didn't.
not know how like receipts work?
No kidding. No kidding.
But maybe they're like,
I-
if we just deny repeatedly, eventually she'll back
Exactly.
off.
So many people do that. You're like, I saw you. And they're like, nah, it wasn't me. And then people believe them because it works sometimes.
Psychologically speaking, if they repeat it enough times, they will believe it themselves. And therefore, if you don't believe it, then you're the crazy one.
Yep.
And case in point, over and over and over again, so many times in this situation. So again, over these past couple of weeks, she's saying, he's crazy, he's psychotic. I don't know how you're attracted to him. He's a narcissist. He needs to get help, blah, 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 blah. And she would be like, I don't know why you think your friend is so pretty. Like, she's just not. He said some really horrible things about her, but then they would stay up drinking at night. And I mean,
He's trying way too hard.
They were both just talking so much smack on each other, and I'm in the middle, and he's, doing his crazy stuff, and she's trying to get me to leave him, and it was full-blown psychological warfare. And then so we get through New Year's, and he leaves for work that following day, and he's out there for I think like 8 days, and that whole time he wasn't contact, like there was no contact. He cut off the bank accounts, and then I get a message saying that he is officially done.
Wait, oh my God.
While he's out of town for work.
He
right?
wants to be officially done again?
Again, yes. This is like a weekly. Blah, 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 blah,
But the
blah.
bank account thing would freak me out. That seems like the most legit thing he's done so far.
I would have taken all the money out and been like, you can do whatever you want with the bank.
No kidding. And so she's still there with her son with me. I'm, a wreck. Like, what in the world is happening? And I finally reach out to like our other group of friends, and I'm like, I'm at rock bottom. I don't know what to do. I don't know what he's doing. He's threatening like all this stuff. Like, if I don't do X, Y, and Z, he will file bankruptcy and destroy us. Like, he went off the deep end. And so then all the men from our church are trying to talk to him and reach out to him, and he is completely isolated. And I'm, again, simply like, as his wife, like, I think he's just stressed about money. I think he's just stressed about the company. I don't know why he's acting like this. He says there's nobody else, right? And a friend of mine who is a doctor, she goes, Claire, if somebody came to my office and presented everything that you just shared with me, and I know you're only sharing the tip of the iceberg, I would declare this as like severe emotional and mental abuse with narcissistic tendencies, and maybe some other. She's like, I can't say specifically because I'm not seeing him, but you've got manic episodes, you've got some like sociopathic issues. Obviously, he has PTSD.
Hashtag all of the above.
All of the above. There could be some bipolar. She goes, this is a very severe thing. And I'm sitting here like, he's going to kill me because I just shared our private stuff with people that I trusted because I don't know what else to do.
Oh, well, I mean,
right.
Gossip is okay. It's legal.
But that's so interesting that like you hear that, and rather than thinking about processing it, you're just still in this state of fear.
Yeah.
Like you can't even process entirely what your friend has just shared with you.
Yeah.
Which in some world would be enough to be like, oh, but he's like made it so hard for you to accept.
Yes. And then Rebecca is like, I'm here with you. I'm never going to leave you. You've got this. Like, he can go basically pound sand. We are in this together. We have the kids. I'm trying to like keep it all together, and she's like, let's go see a movie. Let's go to dinner. So we all do that. I'm trying not to bawl my eyes out. And then she has to go take her son back to the airport. She's flying him out of the airport where my husband is staying in the same city. And she was supposed to come back the next day. And I went and stayed with my friends, with the kids, just to kind of give them some sense of normalcy and like just get out of the house and take a breather. And she doesn't come back for 3 days. So they're both out in this city, probably an hour and a half away. He's supposed to be working. And she said she got a different hotel so that she could focus on her work and let me just kind of like have my time.
And this wasn't a plan. She just was like, by the way, I'm staying for 3 more
Correct.
days.
Yes.
Weird.
What?
And so I stay with my friends. The kids are having fun with their friends. And I'm just processing all of this with, this trusted group of females. So all this is happening the first week of January. He's out in this other city for work. She's out there too. He calls me and says, "Hey, I'm driving back right now. I'm really sorry. I will never destroy our family. I will never let it get torn apart. You are, the love of my life. Blah 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 blah." Right? I'm still at my friend's house because I'm absolutely terrified to go back. I don't know who this person is, and he's trying to get me to come home. He's like, "Come home." I'm like, "I'm not. I am absolutely terrified. I don't know what I'm dealing with. I don't know who you are on any given day." The kids are upset. Like, they're happy here right now. And it was, "I love you. I will always protect you. I don't know what's been going on. Again, we're going to get counseling. Our family won't be torn apart."
Wait, so we do want divorce or we don't want divorce?
No, at this point, he does it. Now he's back to getting me and the kids to come back home. And I'm like, "No, we're not coming back. I don't know what's going on. Like, it's been a complete roller coaster. I'm not eating. I'm not sleeping. Like, I got to figure out, like, I need some space. I need some time, And anyway, he keeps going. He threatened to call CPS if I didn't bring the kids back. And so I ended up going back, which was stupid. And then everyone's checking in and they're like, "We just need to make sure that you're safe." And I'm like, oddly enough, it's really calm. He's fine. Like, everything's okay right now. But then that night, I woke up and he was dressed in his full, like, military garb, paroling the yard
What?
with his guns and his silencer.
Paroling.
Patrolling. Sorry, patrolling.
Well,
is the
both.
word.
I mean,
Yes.
that's
Patrolling
patrolling
the yard. So, like, we've got the psychedelics, which I think has a big part in it, but I think really just maybe opened up Pandora's box.
Yeah.
And maybe he's been able to keep this mask and, like, all these things closed and tight. And now we're in this situation where things are just, like, seeping out and he can't control it. So he refused to come back to bed, like, all this stuff. And again, I'm just trying to keep it calm for the kids. And then Rebecca flies back from Arizona. She comes back and she's like, "Is everything okay?" Constantly checking on me. My other friend found us a rental in town, which is never available. And I was highly considering it because I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, even if we do counseling, even if he gets better, like, I can't keep this isolation going. I need my family. Like, I need my friends, because at this point I'm recognizing, like, he can just keep this roller coaster going and I don't have any way out.
I am actually reading A Court of Thorns and Roses right now. I'm on chapter 14. It's smutty, it's fantasy, and I wasn't sure if I could get into it, but you guys told me to listen to it. And I trust you because you all also love Dipsy. That was a very long way to get into this ad, but this ad is for Dipsy, which I've talked about a million times because I love it so much. And it's sexy and it's spicy, just like A Court of Thorns and Roses. So let's get into it. There are amazing short, spicy audio stories on Dipsy. So if you are into a romance book or romance movie, TV, or just, romance in your life, you should try Dipsy. And we have a great offer. So what Dipsy is an app, and it's made for women by women. But what I love about it is that it has options for everybody, any sexual orientation, any amount of people you want. Like, any gender, it's got it all. So they bring scenarios to life with very realistic characters, immersive soundscapes, and it's like an audio romance, audio kind of erotica. It can be a vacation fling. It could be a hot and heavy hookup. It can be your husband. It could be your enemy to lover. It can be historical fiction. And of course, like A Court of Thorns and Roses, it can be fairy smut, Greek gods, vampires. I don't know what you're into. That's not for me to know, but it's also not for me to judge because I support it. And that's what I love about Dipsy. There's just always a growing library of so much. And it's not just for entertainment and pleasure. I honestly think Dipsy allows people to explore themselves, their sexuality. If you have questions, they have all of these guides, like audio guides to breath work, to self-touch. You can ask questions with your partner. You can listen with your partner, meditation. I've used Dipsy for long before being on this podcast. I heard about it on another podcast. So it's always kind of full circle when they do ads with us because I really believe in it. And it's a modern approach to romance, very high quality, captivating audio fiction. So for listeners of the show, Dipsea is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/TDD. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to DIPSEA stories.com/TDD. dipseastories.com/TDD because you deserve it.
You guys, the resident dating detective's husband, my husband Justin, is obsessed with the Y-Files, and he thinks you're going to love it too.
Like many podcasts, the Y-Files covers conspiracies, aliens, time travel, and ancient civilizations. Some people are very serious about this stuff. They believe every detail, even if the details don't quite add up. Others tear the stories apart. What fun is that? The Y-Files is different. First, we explore the mystery, then together we separate fact from fiction and see what's left. Some legends can't be debunked, and those are my favorites. One of the things I love best about the Y-Files is the fact that he doesn't try to convince you. The Y-Files doesn't try to convince you either way, whether it's true or it's untrue. They give you the facts, you choose for yourself. But one of my favorite episodes is probably the Anunnaki. And those who know, know. The Y-Files is available on Spotify and anywhere you can get your podcast. The X-Files said the truth is out there, but the Y-Files says the truth is right here.
We're looking at this rental and she wants to get her own place eventually, but she was like, I'll move into it with you. It's 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And so I talked about it with him and I was like, hey, listen, like you're working a lot. You're under a lot of stress. The kids want to do this. Let's rent the house out. You can stay at the, lake house if you want to, or you can stay with us, whatever you want to do. But I need to, after everything that just happened in the last couple of weeks, I need to find equilibrium. And the only way I'm going to do that is if I am in community and I have safe places for the kids.
Smart. That's really smart.
And so we were moving forward with getting this rental, which again, just there's none available. And it happened to be a friend of a friend. The previous tenant fell through or something. And so I was like, I feel like this is meant to be in this situation. And so we weren't going to get it until February, I want to say. So we were kind of preparing and stuff. And then we have a freeze. And so we have no water at the lake house. And so Rebecca's there, my husband's there, my kids are there. We have all these snowstorms. And I'm dealing with the kids trying to, keep them fed and keep the, all the school stuff and all of this. And she's like, I'm going to go help your husband.
I'm going to go help your husband. Okay.
Wrap the lines and try to get the water. And so for 4 days straight, we had no water. And she was out actively helping him try and get these lines heated and all of this. And she's like, I'm using this as a time to talk to him and find and be that bridge. She goes, I wish I had a bridge between my ex and me when things were rocky. And so I'm like, okay, you seem to be you seem to see all of it. So maybe you can be a bridge. And so all that happens. And then we get into the following week, we have the water back. I'm over at our neighbors who we see every week, and she is aware of the situation. And I tell her about, we're going to get this rental house, but I'll come back and visit her all the time. But that Rebecca decided yesterday that she doesn't want to stay in the rental house. She still wants to stay in the tower of our lake house while I'm in town with the kids, because this is her healing place. And she goes, Claire, get that woman out of your house. Mm-hmm. She's older. She's in her 70s.
Because they know. Bertha's listen, they know.
She goes, get her out of your house. She is not, if you are going to town, she is not staying there. She needs a place of her own. This is not her healing place. I don't care what they're telling you. Get her out. And I'm sitting here this is kind of like a second mom, in a way. And she's kind of seen all this, but I haven't told her everything, maybe not hardly at all.
You haven't told her hardly anything, and she's telling you to get her out. What were your feelings? What did you think about that? What were your thoughts?
That was an eye opener for me, because the previous week, her family had also been in town. We're all friends and stuff. And her sister-in-law was there, and we had gone over for breakfast. And Rebecca was with me. And I guess after we left, her sister-in-law was like, what is she doing there? This is not good. this is not good at all. I have a bad feeling. This is not okay. And then so when I came to her and was like, hey, she wants to stay while I go to town, is when she finally, I guess, had
I need to say something.
the ability to say absolutely not, because that's not really her style. She's very kind of like, kind of lets people do their own thing and just loves them through it. And she was like, nope, absolutely not. And so that kind of threw me for a little bit. The next night, she left again for another date. And I remember talking to my husband. He's like, yeah, she just wants to stay here and I'm fine with it. But now we're coming into, let's see here, the third week of January. And she comes back from this date and him and I had been talking. This was like another night where he was out patrolling and then came back in. And I put the kids to bed and I was coming back down to finish our discussion and I heard the door shut. And I walk out and I heard her car door. And so I walk out, I'm in my robe and they're like leaning into each other on the deck talking. And I was like, what the F is going on?
Leaning into each other though, like
and
leaning
they're like,
in.
oh, hey. Oh, I just got back. We were just talking about our day. How are you? Right? And I
no
was
big deal.
like, what is happening right now? And she goes, what are you talking about? And I go, so to my husband, I said, this is absolutely insane. Like we just discussed that you have no boundaries. Like you are being completely disrespectful to me. And so she packs up her things and leaves after that blowout. And
they deny everything.
He gets angry with me. They deny everything.
Deny. Never happened.
Angry with me and says, if she goes back to the rancher, if she goes back to him and he kills her, it's your fault.
Oh,
he's mad. He's so mad.
He is angry that she left. And I could see like them, like their eye contact while we were having this, like, is somebody going to say something?
Yeah.
But nobody did. It was just me being like,
hello.
I don't know what's going on with you, Rebecca. This isn't okay. I don't want it to affect our friendship. Buddy, like, this is on you. Like, you are the man of the house. This is not, I'm uncomfortable. The kids are uncomfortable. But then she packs up, she leaves, and he's ticked. He's, saying it's all my fault, whatever.
But for some reason, even after all of this, I still trusted her. I just never thought that she would do something like that to me. So I just decided to still trust her.
And then the next day, she's like, I will move in with you. Let's figure out a date and all of this. And then I'll get my own place when I can get my financials in order. This is for the new rental house. And he's sitting there and he's like, no, you guys have to stay. If you leave, it's over. Like, again, we're back to that. And I'm like, okay, And so he's berating me because he's angry that she left. And then the next day is Sunday. And we sat there and he was like being kind. And so I'm reading like this marriage book and he's like, let's read it together. Again, total polar opposite of the day before. And then he became all like lovey-dovey and he's like, I have to go to a business meeting. And so he leaves and then he comes back and the kids and I were together all day and we're just, having some quiet time. And he goes, we need to talk.
You don't say, fella.
Here we go again, And I'm just like, I'm sitting there and I'm on my phone. He's like, no, you need to put your phone down. I was like, I got to get back. I'm just like,
you're like, I can't even take you seriously anymore.
I can't take you seriously anymore. So he comes in and he says, we need to talk. And I'm not taking him seriously. So I'm like on the phone and he goes, I need to tell you the truth. And like, all of a sudden, like everything starts to shake again. And so he starts in on this. When you sign the divorce papers, I could not get that out of my mind. I'm like, you didn't freaking sign them. And they were fake. And you tore them up the next day.
And you're an idiot.
What? And you're an idiot. And he goes, well, in my mind, we were done at that point. Like we were divorced. And I go, wait. Then he starts to go in to say something about Rebecca. And I go, wait. Like, I need you to repeat that. And so as I click off my phone to like show them like I'm off and paying attention, I hit record.
Yes, girl.
I put it under the covers. And I basically made him repeat everything that he had said up until that point. And he goes into this spiel of, you signed these papers. I was like, but you didn't. They're not legally binding. They're, whatever. You ripped them out the next day. We went on a date. Like, we are now back to counseling, like all this stuff. And he's like, well, I thought that we were, in my mind, that was the case, but then I realized that we weren't. And so I did a deep dive study on the Old Testament, and I felt like God was telling me that it would be okay for me to have multiple wives. And so Rebecca and I knew she had feelings for me, and I had feelings for her. And I was like, you were both blatantly telling me that you really didn't even like each other, but that should have been
and that you thought
really
each other
big
was
red flag.
ugly.
Yes, like I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole, like all this stuff. Like, she's as ugly as the horses she rides. Like,
Oh my God.
really
Right,
bad
okay,
stuff. Like,
sure.
stuff I would never say about another person was coming out of their mouths, and I was just like, this is crazy. Anyway, so he goes on to this spiel about a deep dive into the Old Testament. God is going to bless him because he's following his will, but that's why he was asking me about building a compound where he would have a bunker and he could raise all 9 kids, because when he realized that she had feelings for him and he had feelings for her, they went out onto our property and said marriage vows to each other so that they could sleep together and not be in sin.
And not be in sin?
Yes.
Oh my God, this guy.
In November.
This fella, he crazy as a bed bug.
He's the type of person that like wrote his own Bible that just basically said his name, you can do whatever you want. And I'm going to just interpret everything so that I'm always perfect.
Yeah, and everyone
Yes.
else gets smited. Like you're perfect though.
Like a cult leader.
Yep. Yep. How did this feel though to get this confirmation?
Like-
I mean, what else? Like,
So
was it confirmation or was
it
it?
was,
Yeah, you knew. Come on.
Did you already know?
I think it was confirmation, but shock. Again, it was a surreal experience because he was actually like telling me the truth,
Mm-hmm.
which I felt like I hadn't heard in a really long time. And knowing that it was being recorded and couldn't be flipped around on me again in an hour.
Yeah.
I was feeling like that.
Because he would have been like, no, I didn't say that. No.
Exactly. He would have been like, that did not happen. And so having that validation and having that backup really allowed me to deep dive into the questions
Mm-hmm.
of like when, where, how, and he kept saying, none of this was out of hate. This was all out of love. This is why we could all be together, on our compound, and I can raise all 9 children as dad.
As daddy, as God.
This fella, he is beyond.
Is beyond. And so then things escalate because I'm like, you need to leave. I got the information I have here. You need to leave. And he's like, I'm not leaving. I was like, you are leaving. If you don't leave, like, I'm calling the police. And he's like, I'm not leaving. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have any money. I'm like, this is complete BS. This was his plan. And so he goes, I'm not leaving. And I'm like, well, then I'm going to call the sheriff, And so things escalated. He held me down. I fought to get out. I tried to grab my phone. He threw the phone. Then he blocked me in the room, held me back. And then I get out and the kids could hear the screaming. They could hear like, get off, And so they're coming down. They are like freaking out. They're screaming at him. Like, we knew it all along. You're such a liar. Get out. We never want to see you again. Like,
Oh my God, the kids are saying that.
Horrible. Yes. The kids are saying that. It was so horrible. And then he cornered me in the kitchen. He has his gun on him. And I don't know what's going on at that point. And he cornered me in the kitchen. And so I pulled out the kitchen knife. I don't know if you want any of this. And I just held it. I didn't move forward. I didn't point it at him. I didn't do anything. I literally just stood there.
You're preparing. Do
Yes.
it.
Because so eerily calm when he told me all of this and then got aggressive. He's essentially it could escalate at any moment.
You've
and
seen
I've
that
seen
trance.
it before.
It's like he
I've
disappears.
seen it before. Yep. And so I'm cornered in the kitchen and then he backs up and I call 911. The 911's get kids to safety, get them in the room.
Yeah,
so
no
I get them in
shit.
the room. I get them in the room, I lock it, and he's shouting, "You're crazy, you're insane, you're a liar,
me.
this
Yeah.
and that, whatever."
Right. Okay.
Right. And then they're like, "Stay on the phone with us, stay on the phone." I'm texting the neighbor. They're getting ready to basically, like, if the sheriff kid doesn't, it was a hard situation because like I didn't want him arrested in front of the kids, which in our state he could have been based on everything that happened. But because of all his other situations that have happened in the community, he's actually friends with people at the sheriff's department in that particular county. And the sheriff gets there and, he talks to him first. Talk to him first.
Oh, no.
And I ended up getting a FOIA, which I think everybody also needs to know that they can do in these situations, for the body cam footage so that I could see exactly what happened with that first interaction. Because when the deputy came into the house, he was kind of defensive. I'm still on the phone with 911, who heard everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, the kids are crying and screaming. And he's like, he said that this happened and you said that this happened, and et cetera, et cetera. It's basically he said, she said. I was like, at this point in time, I just want him to leave. And he goes, "Ma'am, I can't make him do that unless you want me to arrest him." Well, no, I don't want you to arrest him in front of my kids right now. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pack them up and we're going to leave. And our neighbors ended up
not
driving
legally
us into
though,
town.
but they can say, "Hey, for this particular situation."
He refused. He refused. And so then I find out through the body cam footage that when the kids and I were packing up, this deputy is outside basically talking shop with my husband.
Like a friend.
A friend, gave him his personal cell phone number to come back in civilian clothes to buy something off of him.
Are you serious?
Uh-huh. But
That
then,
is
horrible. They're over here Facebook marketplacing during a 1018 domestic. Oh my God.
So then the kids and I leave, and he's texting and calling and we're not answering. And then we go to a friend's house, which is fully secured. And then we get the sheriffs involved from the other county, which is just a better county. Like, they handle things a lot differently. And they were like, "You have no choice but to file a protective order. Like, you do not have a choice." I was like, I need another choice, because if I do that, like, I am literally dead. Like, I am a walking target if I do that. And they're like, "No, you don't have a choice." And so they got involved. The counselors got involved, and another attorney got involved. And they're like, "You have to file this based on all the unpredictability, based on all the stuff that has happened, based on the weapons, the drugs, like all of this." And as we're going through this, he's calling every friend of ours to find us. And they're in turn calling the sheriff and being like, "What do we do?"
Good.
And everyone's like, "Nobody answer. Nobody." He's like, "I'm driving around. I'm coming to find them." He kept saying he had money to give us, but he didn't have money the day before.
Freaking crazy pants.
I know. And so the attorney was like, "You have to file this protective order, but I do also need to make sure that you have your life insurance and your guardianship in place."
Oh. Because if anything happens.
And that's when it like hit me. That like everything up until that point was so crazy, but not crazy enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was so psychotic and wild and manipulative and planned and coordinated. Like, the amount of coordination that they had to do in order to pull off an affair for 3 months in my home with my kids there. And then all of the other stuff that, his aggression, his violence, his verbal, like all of that stuff that was going on with him as a separate, it was like this perfect storm. Like, the protective order was 8 pages long.
Oh my God. It was for the kids too, or just you?
Of course. Yeah, no, for the kids.
Good, okay.
It was for the kids based on everything else that had happened. So then DHS gets involved. And anyway, we end up staying at a timeshare for like 3 weeks, a gated timeshare, where the kids could swim and play and everything. They don't want to see him again. And my parents drive into town and they coordinate a time to go and like move our stuff out. And my dad and literally 12 guys from our church show up with their trucks and their trailers. And he's like, "I have the house already all packed, playing games with my dad, being like, everything's fine, everything's packed and ready to go.
Sure.
And so again, you're just, it's an out of body experience. You don't feel like any of this is, real life. And then we get to the house, we walk in, it was completely ransacked. He took all the guns, all the gold, all the silver, any of the computers, any of the technology, took it out, locked it in a shed, and trashed the rest of the house.
What a dick. Oh my God.
If that doesn't say everything for everyone.
Literally all the guys, I hit my knees. Like, I was crying. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, how do I pack this up quickly? You guys have families to go home to. Like, this isn't your job. Like, that's not what you expected. And they were like, we've got this. They grabbed trash bags and boxes and just started, like, by the time we got to the rental and started unpacking, it was like, I had like a toilet brush scrubber in the same bag as like a throw pillow.
Oh God.
It was one of those things, because we only had a certain amount of time with the sheriffs to be there.
Yes.
So it was just everybody, all hands on deck, throwing it all in, throwing it in. I mean, it took us months to go through all this stuff because there was no rhyme or reason to anything being anywhere.
That must have really been nice for you, though.
It was incredible. And for my dad to witness that was something so spectacular. And so anyhow, then we all pull everything out. They, this kind of entourage of trucks and trailers, and they all bring it to the rental. And I just remember pulling in behind him and just bawling and like just kind of taking a photo of like all these men who were trying to talk to him and trying to be his friend and trying to pull him back. And he just isolated from all of them. Yeah. And
he was laser focused.
He was laser focused on this wild, like, I don't know, again, polygamous, communal, which is why earlier when I was saying he was riding this line of like divorce and being on his own, but not wanting that stigma maybe. So that's why he needed to go like this polygamous route. So then he needed to justify it biblically with the Old Testament and like King David.
And this rabbit hole.
Yes. And then the prepper stuff, like, oh, I can't have a polygamous marriage in town, so let's go 2 hours away, and you're with your friend, and the kids are together to save all the Christians.
Solid Christian man, but also have this woman who he was lusting after.
Yes, all of that.
And if he didn't get that, he would hurt anyone in order to get there, and that's just
And then what's even wilder is we got to the house and we're starting to unpack, and I'm trying to make it like a big thing for the kids, and they are unpacking their boxes. He went, and they all have these piggy banks that had gold and silver and all their cash, probably at least a couple grand between all of them. And he went through and unscrewed the plexiglass. There's probably about 15 screws on each one. Took everything out except their copper and like their little coins, and then screwed the plexiglass back on and put them at the bottom of their boxes for them to find and open up when we got to the house.
He stole from his children?
Yep.
What a sociopath.
Legit, girl.
And so within those couple days of us leaving and all of that, it was this oscillation on messages of, I'm going to destroy you. You will be penniless. I'm going to win. I'm going to get the kids. You'll never see them again. You are crazy. He canceled our car insurance, our health insurance, my life insurance, the bank account, stopped paying on the house mortgage, stopped paying on the business equipment that was in my name, like destroyed my credit in literally less than 6 weeks. He just went on a rampage, complete rampage. It's like, if you don't do exactly what I want you to do, I will destroy you. And that is everything that he's done. He literally took a video of himself stating that he went to a doctor of mine that stated that I had Munchausen syndrome, which I didn't even know was a thing.
Right, sure.
And that he thinks I'm an unfit mother. And he was going to send that to the court. And I found it. Don't ask me how I found it. And I took it and I went to the doctor that he said he met with. And I go, what's this all about? We either have a huge HIPAA violation or you diagnosed me with something that I've never been told I've been diagnosed.
Thank you.
And she goes, Claire, I've never met your husband. I've never seen your husband. I've never talked to your husband. And I've certainly never diagnosed you with any of this.
He's so full of shit. His eyes are brown.
I go, can you write that down for me? She goes, yeah, of course. She goes, I'll do one thing further. I'm going to print out of everything that you are allergic to and anything I've ever prescribed you, which is nothing. Ooh. So he can't say that you are self-medicating on anything.
Also, does he know how things work? If you cite a doctor
Clearly
like that,
not.
if in court, they will talk to the doctor. Like they will get the records.
No kidding. You're going to get the records. You're going to get the body cam footage. You're going to get the 911 calls. You're going to have it's so bizarre to me that he just feels like he is not in the same realm as everybody else, and that the truth will not come out.
Can I ask how financially you were getting through all of this after he cut you off from the accounts?
Honestly, my family, and this is what is really frustrating, and our church family. I mean, our church family is paying for our counseling, and then we have other members that have literally I've never seen a community come together like this. And I have family that has been helping just get us through this until we can get to the final divorce process, which is a long time. The system is slow, and it is very frustrating because there's almost like that survivor's guilt because I have a community and not everybody does.
Oh, I just got the chills. Woo! Girl. Mm.
Like if I didn't, my kids and I would either be on the streets or we would have to go back.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing, the system is not set up to help. It's really not. And
which is why a lot of people stay or go back.
And that's why a lot of people stay. And if things hadn't happened the way that they did, I probably would still be in that situation. And so everything since then, it's like the protective order. He's had multiple violations, and the kids were going to testify and everything against him just a couple weeks ago. And he came in. His attorney was like, he has no capacity for custody. If you will drop the protective order, we will keep the no contact and you get full custody. I said, as long as they don't have to get up on that stand, because I don't want you to harass them. And so that's what I ended up doing.
Wait, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, the judge was like, sir, you do understand that I will implement this immediately if anything else goes awry.
There's a lot I still, like, is there more to the story? Because I have more questions.
Oh gosh, yeah, I guess so. She left him and went back to the rancher.
Of course she did. Of course she did.
So then he just is like there by himself. But then we found out that he's talking to like 5 or 6 other women
throughout this whole time.
Of course, he's a narcissist.
Well, maybe I don't know. I just know like after we left and currently, yeah.
Did you have a conversation with Rebecca?
Where the hell at?
She texted me the day after, apologizing profusely, and said that he forced her.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were joking. Okay, sorry.
Oh my
seriously.
God.
He forced her into the ideas and the affair, the relationship, whatever. I mean, I guess it's a relationship because they're married under the eyes of God. So when all of this happened, I did get in touch with her sister, who said that we are not the first family she's done this to. And
my God.
Yeah. And she is a known pathological liar and a sex addict.
A sex addict?
Yes. That I just let walk into my home and watch my children.
Oh, hold on. Not let. It's let if you are fully aware of like
right.
who she manipulated her way into your home. We don't.
Yes. And I'm wondering if they had like an emotional thing longer than that, truthfully, because they were like over the summer, like when we're all hanging out, like if this started before she moved in, and maybe because then she denied all the abuse that happened with the rancher. And I was like, well, then why the heck did we rescue you?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
because she probably,
reports?
so I wonder if that wasn't true, she was just using that to get to your husband so that your husband would be like, I'll come save you. I will be your hero.
Maybe. He does have that complex. Yes. 100%.
And then what about the like other baby daddies and her children? Is all that true?
It is all a lie. All of it.
Wait, what do you mean? What? Explain.
Like, they both have incredible homes, families.
So these are good stand-up citizens.
These are good stand-up citizens, and literally everything she ever said about any of them was a lie. And
how do you know? Did you talk denominator?
To them? Yes. Yeah. 100%.
And now we don't trust anything she's ever said.
And now we don't trust anything that she says. No.
Oh my goodness. So you talked to her ex-husband.
Yes. Yeah. And then his family. And so they were able to give me the background on everything that had happened up until that point. And yeah, it was, again, so many layers and so many lies and so much manipulation.
I have one more question if we want to talk about it, but no pressure. I hate that he used your Christianity against you. And I mean,
I hate that he did that with the kids.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think I was
That makes
raised in
me
like
so
a pretty,
angry.
yeah, my community growing up was very like Jewish, and Mackenzie, I know, has a Christian community. And it's like the idea, like I can so empathize and relate with someone using that. It would be so betraying and so confusing
Yes.
to take something that is such a value.
100%. And again, back to that community, if we didn't have this, I don't know how I would navigate it with the kids, because everything that was said and done was so wrong. And I can kind of swim in those waters as an adult, but as a child, I'm like, I don't have the tools to help you filter through this. And so we have this community, that these people that have been able to really get on their level and explain that what was done was wrong. This is not how God is. This is not okay. This is not what the Bible says. Like, always reference and know what your truth is, and stand on that rock, and not let anybody else sway you so that they have power over you. That is not okay. And I don't care what age you are.
Amen.
Amen.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that you have that, because I could see kids being like, my dad did this, and now I want nothing to do with the church or whatever that community is. And I don't, I think you're providing.
Thankfully, again, in our situation, I think it has switched them around, and they are more on fire for right versus wrong. And so I'm thankful for that, but it doesn't always turn out that way. And so again, having the knowledge and the tools and the resources to be able to figure out how to navigate that with kids, that abuse of power, of religious power, using the Bible or whatever. It is. It absolutely is. And there's something very, very wrong with that.
Well, they're lucky they had a mama working overtime. Like you wouldn't believe. I mean, you're amazing.
Mama Bear wasn't messing around. She said, do you feel hilarious. Like, and my question is, like, looking back, do you feel like you knew whenever you would see them together? Like, did you ever feel like, I knew, but then you were like, well, what they're saying seems okay?
There were red flags. There were definitely, otherwise I wouldn't have questioned. I wouldn't have even approached the subject with either of them to give them the platform to say what they said about each other. You know what I mean? And so they were just both so good at it. And again, like you said, my intuition was saying one thing, my brain was saying another, and it was full-blown psychological warfare. And having that validation, knowing that my gut was correct, is really important.
But that feels good too, right? Like knowing that you were right the whole time. Like it's almost like,
oh my gosh,
I hate that I was right, but it feels good. Yes, we've talked about that before.
It's a weird relief.
You didn't trust yourself, but then it's like looking back, you hate that it happened, but also it's like, damn, I'm really good. Like I did know the truth, and that feels kind of good.
I'm not crazy.
Your intuition can never be broken. Yep.
And it really shows the true colors of the person on the other side of that, who is blatantly trying to break every inch of you down on the crazy spectrum, the mental illness spectrum, the jealous, insecure spectrum. Like, what the actual heck? That is not who any of us are, and that's not who we're designed to be. You are actively trying to do this so that you have power, and we need to tap into our own and never let it go.
Yes. Whenever you knew that they were together, going into town together and all that, did you feel jealous? Like, were you ever jealous, or were you just like taking it like, oh no, it's fine.
She's
like,
your
I
best
trust
friend.
It was literally, there was no jealousy. It was just sheer confusion.
Mm-hmm.
I was more angry at him for not having boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I never thought she would do that. And I never thought he would do that. Regardless of the chaos of what was going on, like with the fights and the PTSD and the marriage and all that, which happened very, very quickly, all of that combined, it was just very hard to filter through. Like, I feel like a dang archaeologist now. Just like sifting through all these layers.
That's such a good analogy.
Yeah, you're like finding stuff.
Let me keep on digging.
Oh.
What layer are we going to find today versus, in this message or this comment or whatever? And that's the thing, is you will absolutely replay it over and over and over again. Be like, well, how did I miss that? Or the things that I didn't miss, but I didn't trust myself on. And then you hear like, oh, that conversation didn't actually mean that. That meant something entirely different. And that plays into what happened over here.
Yep.
And so there's that clarity of putting that, it's like a million piece puzzle, and all the pieces are scattered. And then once one drops, you just start putting them all together and you're like, oh my goodness, this is a lot bigger. Like I said, for them to be able to pull off a full-blown affair, a full-blown fake second marriage. I don't even want to call it an affair. Like in their mind, they were married. They were married while both living separate lives with me and my children at home on my property. In order for them to do that, like we're dealing with two very unstable, psychologically messed up human beings.
I was going to say, I hope she gets help too, because
I absolutely hope she does. I do. I really do. For her kids, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're in good hands. They're in really good hands right now, but yeah, like that's a whole other ball game. And
I mean, if
as
she's
a mother, I cannot comprehend it. I think what angered me the most is that it was so incredibly selfish. Like if they had feelings for each other, have a sit down conversation and let's figure this out. But the destruction that they went through completely destroyed the friendship of our children.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Not only did you blow up our family, and now my children don't want to see their father ever again, but now your children and my children, like my children are like, are we related now? Like if they're married, like, you know,
they're so confused.
Ew, no,
they're so confused. For her to not think of the overall outcome, like obviously our friendship meant nothing, whatever. I don't care about that. But your children's friendship, like the kids were literally like BFFs whenever they're together. They have so much fun. They had plans for next summer. Like you didn't think about that when you like, sorry, I was going to have some choice words and I decided not to.
She's so nice.
We can read between the lines.
You can read between the lines all you want. What angers me the most is it did not need to get this bad. But then again, maybe it did. I also have to look at that side too. Maybe it had to happen exactly the way that it did, or I would still be on that roller coaster with him.
That's a good point too.
And the detrimental effects of that on my children long term would trump this pain tenfold.
You know what?
Maybe it had to happen this way.
Too. That's a good point too, because if someone else tells you, but you haven't seen it for yourself yet,
it's hard to believe.
Then yeah, it's hard to believe, and then you just never know. So I totally agree with that too.
Yeah, I feel like at least this particular situation, knowing who he is and how he works and how his mind works and how his communication works and the manipulation, I literally, again, you guys witnessed that roller coaster of that ebb and flow, that up and down in just a short period of time. Like this is 14 years. If it didn't blow up this way, would I still be there? That's what I asked myself. I don't know.
Wow.
I'm glad you're
that's so thought provoking, right? Like, it's like, well, you never, but you know that like you are exactly where you're supposed to be, right when you're supposed to be there at all times. That's all there is to it. So it's you know, it's 6 and 1, half dozen the other. Like you're still where you're supposed to be.
Right.
We have to believe that.
Yep. And the kids are doing great. They are thriving. They are so happy. They're not walking on eggshells.
Oh, good.
It is very easy. I mean, they have anger issues that they have to work through, but again, great community that's helping them through that. They're safe now, and I have custody, and we will figure it out. I mean, that's the other thing. When you deal with people like this, if you don't do what they want, they will destroy everything. And my case is no different. So, I mean, we're starting from scratch and we'll be fine because we have each other and they are safe. And from here, we can only go up without his control and all the other stuff. So anyway.
Your comment about your community being the thing that got you through that moment and being grateful that you have one, but also aware that many people do not.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling your story for the person that needs to hear it and maybe doesn't have a community like you, because you've just kind of created that for them in a parasocial kind of way. And it's important. And I just wanted to call that out because it's very brave of you to share.
Every time any of these guests like share their story, you create a community. If there wasn't already one, you create it. And I think that's so cool. And I know that it got a little bit emotional sometimes, like for us too, like me and Hannah were kind of getting really emotional
like tearing
too.
up.
We felt it. And I just want you to know that you're not alone. And you're so brave for even sharing your story, but just everything that you've gone through, that's so painful. And I think so many people have gone through it or are going through it. And so thank you so much. I commend you.
It's unfortunate. I really just wish nobody was going through it. I wish that there wasn't a single listener that can relate, but unfortunately they can.
And you got double dogfished because of Rebecca as well. It's just so painful, but you're a very bright light.
The double dogfish, like the double betrayal, is a different level of healing. I feel like it really
Awful.
is. It's gunky.
It's disgusting. No, there's like not really any words. Like, I know it's a podcast, but we're like, is there anything else we didn't ask you, or any like takeaways that you want to make sure you share?
I feel like the biggest thing is, if you are in a situation, to start, my first thing would be make sure that you stack your resources, because I didn't have time to do that. And he cut off everything, literally everything. And I feel like that's a very telltale sign. So try not to allow yourself to be in that. Like, I will never let my girls be in this situation, ever. Even if they are not saving for themselves, I will save for them, because it's not okay to feel trapped, and it's not okay to feel like you have to go back because you don't have another option. And the system, unfortunately, is not prepared or designed to support or hold you up for very long, if at all.
If you find yourself in a situation similar like to mine, please find a community as soon as you get. Like, I was lucky to have one, but if you even resemble anything like this, like, find some friends, find some community that you can confide in, because without it, I don't know how we would have gotten out. And so I don't want that for anybody else. And then obviously, if you have kids involved, that's another layer. And just to be as truthful and honest with them, age appropriate, obviously, and get them the help and support that they need, because you don't want stuff like this to turn generational. And I think it's our job to like stop it here, whether it be abuse, possible. Physical, mental, emotional, financial. That's a big one. That's also abuse. Everyone thinks if you don't have a black eye, it's not a big deal, but that is not the case.
That's
psychological
so true.
Is a really
it's still
big
abuse.
deal. It is. And
Totally.
Your kids witness it and they see it, and you got to find a way to process it with them. I think that's the biggest gift that you can give to them. And then also really teach them to trust their gut and their intuition from a young age, so that they don't find themselves in the same position. Because
yes,
I think
teach
our
your
generation,
kids how to trust their gut, find their intuition, their femtuition, and tell them to trust it. Yes, teach them
and support them in that. And the way that we support them in that is leading by example, however we can.
Do you want to be a regular on the show?
Yeah, you are the best. I also love how much you respected and continue to respect your children at any age, and never writing them off just because of their lack of experience or anything. Like, that's huge.
I think it's super important. And you guys have a great platform to be able to reach the people that need it. And I think that's incredible of you guys too.
Thank you so much. We cannot believe like the amount of people we've been able to help with the podcast, just because it gives people a voice. Like, it gives people an outlet, and it helps them to add a little bit of closure. But just you create the community. So every guest who has come on has created this community, and it's really great to provide that to so many other people who need it.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. And like you
I
said,
hope we
it's
run out of stories
for the person that's able to like share, but it's also, you've got people that can relate, and then they can find the tools.
Absolutely. And then if they ever see themselves in that position, and some women, a lot of people tell us their daughters listen to it with them, and they tell their daughters, this is a situation where in the future, when you start dating, this is something to look at and, keep an eye on.
That is incredible.
And I think that's really cool too, because these are like, you're teaching your daughters, you're preemptive. Yeah. We see how it's more we see how often it happens, and we can, do something about it now.
Yes. The beauty of social media platforms. To be able to reach a larger audience for good, because it can be used for evil, but to be able to use it for good, I think is so amazing and incredible. And yeah, you guys are awesome.
Thank you so much, Claire. We're so glad you came on, and I can't wait to hear updates from you. And I can't wait for others to hear your episode. And really, I know that so many people will relate to you. So thank you so much. You're the best.
Thank you, girls.
you see do you see what I mean about the sense of community? That sense of community is ultimately like what she said gave her the most comfort. And I just
strength. It's so powerful.
That sense of community, which is what we ultimately did not realize we would be providing here. And apparently we have. And so many of you have told us that. And so many of you have told stories that are very similar to Claire's. And this is just, oh my gosh. So this story, one thing that really struck me is the whole stay-at-home mom thing, right? So financially, she felt powerless. Like you can't leave. Like you have no money. Where are you going to go? You know what I mean? And I think that that's very, very common. I don't know what it is for, it's different for everyone, but it sucks that there is that powerlessness, and that breaks my freaking heart. I can't stand it.
Yeah. I want to hear from other stay-at-home moms because it's a full-time job. It's an important job. It's an amazing job. And I think obviously there's the element of preparing for the worst case scenario, like if for whatever reason you had to leave, but also the empowerment of feeling that independence, even when you don't need it, I think makes a difference for people. But I want to hear how people manage to do it.
I would just want to know, like, what is your sense of, like, obviously when you marry someone, you don't have an intention of divorcing them, but do you just feel safe and just be like, oh, well, if we have to get a divorce, like everything's fine. What is your peace of mind in that? Do you have a nest egg? Do you set something aside? What is your safety in that situation? If something were to go south, if you're a stay-at-home mama, I would like to know more about like what your thoughts are on that. And if you're just like, nope, I just trust him fully and that's it. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know more about that from you guys.
Finances, like money, obviously makes the world go round, but there are other sources of currency as well, such as community, such as having those people that you can go to help you. And if that's what it is, then that's what it is. Like in her case, that church community is what came to her door. And you just need something. I also want to talk about what she said with gaslighting children in the way that he kind of, I wrote down gaslighting kids erodes their intuition. The way she talked about that and the way she unfortunately witnessed this shithead deny his kids' experience. They would say that they saw something and they would be there when he was being abusive. And then he would say, no, I wasn't.
No, I wasn't.
And
no, I didn't.
Yeah, how much harder is it for a child who they see everything? They pick up on everything. Their intuition is better than ours.
Yes.
Just starting so young to deny that, it just broke my heart. And you're a mom, so you can speak to it even more. I can't imagine.
Well, my son is 10, and I know that sometimes when I say something, if I say something that is wrong or inaccurate, he'll be like, wait, Mommy, that's not how that movie went, or that's not how that movie ended, or that's not how this, he'll say, and he'll question you and he'll look at you and be like, wait, because he knows. But then if I turn around and say, nope, it didn't happen that way. And you tell
no, you're just a kid. I'm a grown up.
Exactly. Your feelings don't matter. Like that's not. And then, so going forward, they question everything going forward because they're like, I'm just a kid. Maybe that really didn't happen. And you're basically crippling this sense of like this
trust.
This trust that they have in themselves, their intuition. But like we said in a previous episode, you cannot break intuition. You cannot break it. And the kids, they still ultimately they know, but it's
just harder to hear it. Yeah. Yes. It's like you have intuition, you have a gut feeling, you have intuition. Whether or not you trust yourself is the thing that people can get in the way of.
Yeah. And that's so
what we're trying to keep people from doing.
Especially with the kid. It just breaks my heart that he was. Also, he got all of this so he could have this polygamous relationship.
Yeah, what is that? What is it with these people?
It's the same, like people cheat all the time, but they don't want to leave their spouse, right? You hear all the time, like he won't leave his wife because he wants you, but he also doesn't want to lose his relationship. Like he wants it both. They want it both ways. And that's just not something that's really, like they never end up leaving the relationship because that's their comfort, but they also want the little extra on the side.
The fact that it was her, the best friend, living under their roof as she was dressing up like her friend, the wife. I mean,
so gross and weird.
So gross and weird.
She wanted to
So
be just like her. She wanted to take
awful.
over her role.
It blows my mind. And the way I said this to her, just using the Bible against her, using religion against her to satisfy his own needs. I
Yeah.
think anyone who is religious would recognize that as being manipulative. And obviously it's disgusting and it's not
there's
fair.
interpretation, right? Like there's so many interpretations about different scriptures in the Bible, all the scriptures, right?
Sure.
So there's interpretation, but then there's manipulating the words to fit your narrative, which is a totally different, like,
yeah, that's
I don't know.
not.
Especially to use it in a form of abuse like this. You know, he was abusing her emotionally and, you know, taking advantage of her, gaslighting her. It was all of it.
What we did wasn't a sin because we had a marriage ceremony.
No, I cannot.
Made me throw up in my mouth.
What a gross.
What is your definition of sin, sir?
Like, if you want to pretend to have this ceremony, like, just, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, if that's what you're going by, so then we're all like, I'm just gonna say I had a ceremony to.
Yeah, let's do it right now. Let's get married.
Right?
Molly, get Elise in here. We'll get you guys married right now.
Yeah, quick, fast, and in a hurry. Like, well, let's get it done. It's so stupid. I can't with this film. This guy's an idiot.
Molly got engaged. I don't think we really mentioned that. I keep bringing it up on any call, but now I've had a lot of calls with her, so I forget that it's new to people. But Molly got engaged. It's really exciting. Love is real.
Molly got engaged.
We're so happy for her and Elise, and it's the best thing ever. And follow us on Instagram because you can see her crying in a restaurant.
Over oysters. And then my favorite part was then when she showed the screenshot of the friend going, so I guess you're not going to game night. And I'm like, no, oysters are an aphrodisiac. Nobody's going to game night.
Yeah, game night is postponed.
Yeah, I will not be at game night. I'll be playing my own games.
We love that.
Silly.
We love that. And I mean, it's a weird transition, but it kind of is special. Love is real when you find the right person. And I hope that Claire does.
I just want to reiterate that the sense of community that ultimately helped this woman more than anything goes to show you that when you share your story, when you use your voice, when you come together for someone else, and when we start working together instead of against one another, you form a sense of community that you don't realize people are going to need that. So if you are just one person, but you inspire other people to come together as well, now you're forming a community. But even just one person can help to form a community just by being there for someone else. And that's what I want to just say louder, is be that community for someone. And these guests sharing their story on the podcast, they are ultimately creating a sense of community for all the people that are maybe listening and going, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe it. Like, that's me.
I wasn't crazy.
Too. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
so thank you so much, like, you guys, for sharing all your stories.
Just one more small thing that she said that I think is important, where she talked about not wanting to reach out to her friends, family, community because she was embarrassed by him. That feeling of like, oh, I don't want to say what he did in case it gets better and then all my family will hate him. I don't know. I think if you see something, say something. I think we have to have our backwards, and we have to, we just have to.
I would be in a relationship with someone, and if someone cheated on me or did something really bad that I knew I'd never get back with them, I know myself, and I know that I would have a bleeding heart, and I'd be like, it's okay because I love you or whatever.
Would you tell someone?
If I said it out loud to my mom, like, he did this and I hate this guy. As soon as I say it out loud, I can't take him back because then I look like a dickhead. Like, then
wait, literally, I bet other people are the same, because I had that too, where I was like, if I tell my mom this one thing,
then you can't get back with him because then you'll look silly. Yeah.
It's so real. If anyone is dealing with any issues in their relationships, our DMs are open. We try to talk to you as much as we can at Dating Detectives Podcast, but we especially want to hear your stories. Any Dogfish story, friend, career, boy, girl, other, everything in between. We want all the different Dogfish stories because we're here for you and they deserve a chance to be told. So email us, investigate@thedatingdetectivespodcast.com. That's our email.
Nailed it.
And put in the subject a little blurb about it, and you can describe the story in bullet points even, but give some kind of summary in the email.
Definitely do a summary. Listen, we need help. We get so wrapped up. Like, we will go down your rabbit hole with you, but we need you to be like, no, girl, don't go down a rabbit hole. Just here's the summary, because we will go down the whole thing. And then before you know it, we're like 3 hours deep, and I'm doing investigation and research before we've even met this person. So like, just do a summary, please, because my brain will not stop.
Yeah, help us help you. Anything else that I missed?
No, just you guys, you have to join the Patreon. Oh my gosh. Some of the stories that we share on the Patreon are, and also the updates on the Patreon for some of these episodes, but just the things that we share on the Patreon, it's a little bit more laid back and super cool. None of the commercials and all that jazz. And when we have a merch drop or anything like that, and, we like to give our Patreoners the option to, help us decide on like designs and get things like that. It's really fun. It's a nice sense of community for anybody who needs it. That's what we're really proud of. But so is our podcast in general. So I think we're both really proud of it.
Yeah.
And you guys.
And you cut out, but whatever you said, I'm sure I'm proud of it too. No, I really am.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys. So join the Patreon. It's only $5 a month, and make sure you share your stories with us. Please don't ever think, oh, this story's not crazy enough or this story's not wild enough. If it's sitting in you and it's affecting you, then please let us be a voice for you. So don't let us decide that. We want to do everything we can to provide.
I need to find, I haven't replied. Someone sent me their boat romance story where they had a romantic hookup on a boat a long time ago. And I haven't replied yet because you sent all of it and I wanted to really digest it and respond. But man, I felt like it was straight out of Dipsy. That was really cute. So you just wait for your reply, but just know that I like the romance stories too. We love you all. Thank you so much.
Anyway,
let us know what you think.
Yes, and as always, trust your fem tuition.